Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you are all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and there are a number of topics right now reverberating around the Call of Duty community. But Dashy last night in the OpTic Chicago guys were streaming last night for pretty much the first time since the Stage 1 Major concluded, and many interesting topics that he brought up, especially to do with the whole snaking scenario, but also the Clayster drama that we saw this past weekend. He reckons that Clayster is pretty much never going to beat him again. Will that happen? I suppose the story does remain to unfold over time. Enjoy taking your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you were new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Let's hop into things then. So first of all, let's talk again about gentlemen's agreements a little bit real quick. We'll talk about it in more detail later today actually, because there's some interesting stuff once again to cover on this. But yes, the AK-74U, we talked about yesterday how the muzzle attachments had been GA'd effectively, so it has some more recoil, but the pros are still just using only 4 attachments. So they're not replacing the, the muzzle attachment with a mag attachment to have 40 round mags, because maybe that would kind of defeat the purpose of the whole idea of trying to get rid of the XM4 so that they can effectively nerf the 74U without the assault rifles becoming even more dominant than they already are. But as aBeZy says, some of these AR players are comedy. I can't wait to watch you go crazy with no A4. The meta says censor. I truly don't understand it, Doug. No one can ever be happy with anything. The meta was fine, but now I'm going to hear these guys consistently complain about the 74U for the rest of the year. Same cycle every single year. And we'll talk later today about the fact that FaZe didn't want the XM4 gone, but well, most of the other teams did, as I talked about. So also right here as attached says, can't believe they're trying to make us use a bullfrog right now, so maybe even they're considering the 74U actually still is too strong, even though the XM4 is gone. And now as TJ says, bullfrog meta would be lit. I don't even know what's going on anymore. Certainly something we're going to have to keep our eyes on. And as Venom and Fire are talking about, right, taking the muzzle off just did absolutely nothing, right? Like, even though I think it has like a 4% increase or decrease to the recoil, and as Venom says, like, had to check my attachments to make sure I actually took it off, saying effectively this whole recoil increase that they're discussing why this GA came into effect is not really taking too much impact, to the point where maybe the 74U actually is just a bit too strong and it's time to go. The bullfrog's coming in. I don't even know what's going on anymore, to be honest. Azuma says right here, heard the GA chat between the pros is in absolute shambles. Sources are telling me people are angry and are leaving, arguments flying left, right and centre. We'll talk about it live on the episode of The Flank. I'll make sure I catch this when I can. But yeah, talking about Slasher once again, here's Reach. I got out of those chats. It's not the same anymore. Nobody actually cares about making the gameplay better. It's all for their own personal benefit. As Crim says, time is money, and that chat is a grade A waste of time. They used to be super valuable, saved us from playing some unbelievably bad rule sets. For example, cloak every single life in Advanced Warfare and trip mines in Black Ops 3. We would have been screwed those years in this current situation. But well, clearly this whole GA chat, Slasher isn't really a part of anymore. And as Dashy says, buff the FFAR. So not too long ago, really at the start of the title, the FFAR was the dominant weapon in the meta for pretty much a couple of weeks. And I didn't even really play the game at the time, so I didn't get to experience it, unfortunately, because apparently it's pretty good fun to use. We saw these S&D tournaments just getting dominated all over the park by the FFAR. They then nerfed it though. They increased the recoil very considerably. Dashy was one of the early proponents of using it to great effect early on in the season, and then it got nerfed to the point where it's pretty much unusable. Then they actually did bring it back somewhat, but it doesn't really quite seem to be good enough, and actually got GA'd I think right at the start of the game because it was just too strong. But speaking of Dashy, of course, last night he did turn on the stream and had a very interesting few things to say about a couple of topics that we have seen these last several days. So of course, their 2 matchups against the New York Subliners were very interesting indeed, given the whole drama that we had between Dashy and Clayster way back in January. We'll look at that really quick before I play the clips here. So this is it, just to make it very clear for you guys once again. Back in January, OpTic Chicago did their kind of player power rankings video, and I'm not exactly sure where they put Clay, maybe like an A-tier player or something, but Dashy said in that video, just as a kind of side comment, that Clay to play against is a C-tier player. Like, he's awful, this guy's garbage, even though, yeah, okay, he's a back-to-back world champion, he's beaten me on certain teams, he is an individual player who isn't actually that good. So that's kind of what Dashy was saying at the time. And didn't I just body you for the last 2 years straight? And then we continue here, terrified of which Brandon, the one who gets benched or the one who just plays for kills, not to win. Oh, I'm so excited to see what you can do this year with no Zeo or Tiny Terror, saying that, okay, now you're not on Dallas, now you're not on E United as it was, winning the world championship with Simp and aBeZy way back in Black Ops 4, you're just going to get completely bodied this year. No one is saving you this year, brother. Looking forward to seeing you on the battlefields. And well, this of course was the first series they played in the initial round, the winners round 1. Dashy dropped a 2.13 KD, just completely demolished the subliners. I mean, 81 kills over 3 maps is something I haven't really seen, I don't think, before. I think easyMac was even saying this might be a record for the amount of kills set, like an incredible pace to do it over just 3 maps. 81 kills, I mean, that's just remarkable stuff. And after this series, Dashy comes out and says, okay, yeah, GG's New York 1-3-0, play Empire tomorrow for a spot in the winners finals, but well, when it goes the other way, Clayster certainly has a few more spicy words to say. We'll look at that in a second. I'll play the clips on screen.
The restroom real quick? Or you gotta shoot Clay's body next time. Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, I actually, like, I don't get hype when I beat Clay, bro. Like, he got hella hype when he beat me. I don't blame him, because, like, it's probably never gonna happen again. And it took, like, Diamond Con, like, snaking, like, fucking Tires Heady over and over.
Brandon, join up.
It's kind of a shitter thing to do. Like, if you snake, you're kind of ass. You guys know exactly who I'm directing that to, right? Like, when I say that. If you snake your dog. Because that just means you probably got pissed on 3-0 in 30 minutes and then you needed a, you know, kind of a cheap shot way to win. I don't know. It's kind of me, though. It's like, holy shit, I can't kill this guy. Let me resort to snaking and like, if you're going to snake me, at least, like, have the balls, you know, to, like, say that, yeah, we're just snaking. We don't give a instead of making an excuse. Yeah, we got snakes, so we're just going to snake you guys. Like, what? How does that make any sense?
So then they go to the losers round 5, right? And this is the elimination match. I mean, OpTic Chicago had lost in that game 5 round 11, creating us to the Dallas Empire. And now New York find themselves down here as well, of course, after their defeat earlier on to OpTic Chicago. However, this time it does not go OpTic's way. I mean, they go for a pretty interesting map set choice. They play Crossroads again, map 1, after they just beat LA Thieves on that map, which really isn't traditionally a great map for OpTic so far this year. Then they play a Garrison Search and Destroy, which pretty much they haven't played this entire season. So already it's not looking good. And then, well, Checkmate Control is a pretty good map for the subliner. So certainly that map set did not play into OpTic's hands, I believe. And of course, that very final round, the 4 versus 11 choke that we've talked about a couple of times, as Clay says, never seen a bigger breakdown. GG's OpTic Chicago, GG's to them, of course, moving all the way onto the Championship Sunday to continue Clayster's run of making it to Championship Sunday. And this is what he says at the time, interesting to see how I do without Zia or the Tiny Terrors. And this guy's got 2 of the best COD players of all time. So, yeah, you could argue that, okay, when Dashy beats Clayster in that first round, he's, you know, he's very respectful, but when Clayster beats Dashy, then he's coming at his neck, right? Which, okay, I mean, obviously, fair enough. I like the drama. And as Clay says right here, when I'm New York Subliners doing this tweet a couple of days ago and says, like, only GG's brother got mad respect for you and the boys, just took it a little bit personally from Brandon, that being Dashy, so I'm going to have my fun while I can. So this is kind of what Dashy's getting at in that clip, right? Saying, look, okay, Clayster, he got us this time. He's never going to beat us a single time ever again towards the rest of the season. And well, that'd be pretty interesting to see how exactly that goes. The other side of things are, of course, this whole snaking situation. We've talked about it with the whole Cellium stuff. We talked about it yesterday, the fact that a lot of pros, Octane especially, thinks that yeah, it's pretty much plaguing the game at the present time, and it's very frustrating to see. As Arcitys says during their match against OpTic, Diamond got snaked OpTic, he is banned. This, of course, is the clip that we've looked at a couple of times already, and well, this makes it very difficult to kill him. And he's not just doing like the standard snaking, where you just crouch up and down. If you crouch up and down, it makes you difficult to see and to kill, but it's not the absolute end of the world. That's something which, I mean, I don't know, if you do it, it's not exactly great still, but when you're doing this whole, I mean, he's kind of crouching up and down, but he's kind of like going prone and then sprinting out of it, which just makes you very difficult to kill indeed. And as well, Dashy was saying right there, he basically says that if you use snake just for an advantage, you're just awful at the game, you're using it to make up for not actually being good. If you have to do this to win a series, then yeah, obviously not the best thing. I did kind of take from what Dashy said, though, that he maybe somewhat felt that if DiamondCon hadn't have snaked this, then they would have just won the map, right? I'm not exactly sure that's the best attitude. Maybe he doesn't exactly think this, but from my perspective, if DiamondCon doesn't snake this, you know, do OpTic still win this series? Probably not, right? Like, yes, it's of course not the best thing to do, but at the end of the day, like, did this really make the difference in the series that they got pretty much demolished in at least the first couple of maps? I mean, probably not, right? So I'm hoping that Dashy doesn't just chalk this series up to DiamondCon snaking, and therefore OpTic don't really think about, okay, how can we actually improve and get better at these certain maps, or how we did the vetoes or whatever, rather than just saying, okay, this guy was snaking, therefore, you know, it's totally okay that we lost or whatever. I'm not really sure. It was interesting to take that away from him, but yes, certainly interesting to see what he had to say about DiamondCon and the whole snaking situation right now. And well, as we talked about the last couple of days, what can you realistically do to fix it? It is a pretty tough one at the current time. So the question really is, can Clayster beat OpTic Chicago again going forwards? I wonder when the next time we will get this matchup will be. I mean, Clay's played with everyone and for everyone back in the day. Like, he was on OpTic Chicago or OpTic Gaming, of course, way back in the day in Ghost Days, for example, when they won the X Games, the first ever X Games, with Clayster kind of not necessarily at the helm of that team, but he was on the squad at the time and he was a crucial member of that team. I mean, Clayster's been in and around the park for a number of different years, but this is the CDL standings as they stand right now. A few of you guys were asking me, like, how are OpTic and Sibilants on the same points count when they had, you know, they had a different result this past weekend. Effectively, if you win a regular season match, like a regular stage match, you get 10 points towards your total standings. But then when you place, depending on where you place at the major, you then get a different number of points. So for example, OpTic Chicago right here have 80 points. They they were 4-1, I believe, in their group play, so they got 40 points for that, and Subliners were 3-2, so they got 30 points for that, but because Subliners placed third, they then got a certain amount of points for placing third at the major, and then OpTic got points for placing fourth at the major, and for placing first at the major, you got 75 points for FaZe, in addition, of course, to their, the amount of points that they won for the rest of it. So already FaZe stretching out a nice advantage right here, and in the coming days, we are going to see, I imagine, the groups be seeded for stage 2. So the way it worked before is that it was Empire and FaZe number 1, number 2, because they came off the World Championship last season. This time it's going to be FaZe and Empire. So FaZe are going to choose the team that goes into Empire's pool. So I imagine that they're going to pick OpTic, you would imagine, to go into Empire's pool. So probably Empire and OpTic are going to be a matchup already in the regular season of stage 2. And then, well, Empire get to choose who goes into FaZe's pool. So probably they're going to choose the Subliners, but it will be interesting to see because a number of these teams may have very different perceptions of how good these teams actually are. Like some of these teams might look at Minnesota or might look at Florida Mutineers and think, okay, they didn't have the greatest stage, but actually they're a more scary team to me than maybe LA Thieves are, for example, even though that may not very well be the case, but who knows, they might be, and therefore they might put them in that pool if they think it's a bad matchup for some of the teams in that pool. So always interesting dynamics, but probably what it does mean is that Subliners will be in a different pool to OpTic Chicago for this upcoming season or for this upcoming stage, which probably means once again we'll have to wait to see this matchup at the major if it does indeed occur. But yeah, certainly interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below this one. What do you think about what Dashy had to say about snaking, but also the whole Clayster situation? And well, certainly a storyline to keep your eyes on going forward as well. Speaking of Clayster, he was streaming last night as well. This is a pretty funny clip just to finish out the video here on Control, playing up against the Built by Gamers team in scrims right here with a QBZ in hand. And yeah, just a pretty funny clip to be honest as they clutch up this 2 versus 2 in Control. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.
Everyone kitchen, everyone kitchen. Honey. I almost lost a gunfight, no bullshit. I should have lose again.